Hey everybody! Oh, is that recording?
Yes, it's.
This might be a close second for the worst opening ever. Hey everybody, welcome to the Horribly Off Topic podcast. I'm Steve, and this is my co-pilot in terrible radio.
Yes, but I don't have a name.
I was going to let you say your
You're
name.
going to let me say my... Now, Brian, this is the moment at which Brian is starting to compose the tweet that says, yes, that was even worse than the other one. I think Brian is probably finishing now. And then he's waiting. He's about
Just
to
say
tweet
that
it.
your fucking name is Chris.
He's about to tweet it, and he's like, what jackassery is going to come next? Because maybe I need to save a few of my 140 characters for that. Yeah, I'm Chris.
Thank you. And welcome to the show. We're just we were briefly talking about video games before.
We were.
I was playing my Wii U earlier, and I was playing the
Wario, and I said
WarioWare. No, it was Game and Wario is the game that I was playing. I got it for
Game with an apostrophe at the end.
Game. I think it's N. I don't know. It might be Game and Wario because that game came from WarioWare, which was this game for the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
Which was just a bunch of little games.
Yeah.
That were like probably about 3 seconds long each, and then like you would play them over and over again, and it would progressively get faster and faster.
Okay. Where did Wario? That's where Wario came
from?
No. Because my
so,
first exposure to Wario was we got our Wii, and that Christmas we also got the Winter Olympics, Mario versus Sonic Winter Olympics, because the Winter Olympics were coming up, and Wario was one of the characters you could have on your team, and I'm like, who the fuck is Wario?
All right, so the other part of the game that I was playing.
Okay.
It was Game and Watch was the original like handheld games that Nintendo put out before like Nintendo NES.
Yeah.
So it was Game and Watch, and so that those two are together, Game and Wario, and it's just a bunch of little weird mini games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Wario, and if you didn't have a handheld, you wouldn't have known this of where he came from.
I didn't. No, John and I shared an original Game Boy.
Okay, but did you have Super Mario Land 2?
I don't know.
If you didn't, then that's probably why you don't know who Wario is.
Yeah.
Wario is the main antagonist in Super Mario Land 2.
Gotcha.
And that's where his first appearance was, and then like he just like branched out for I think the Super Mario Land 3 he was in it as the antagonist, and then Super Mario Land Super Mario Land 3 was like Wario. Wario was the main character.
Was the protagonist. Oh, yeah. Okay. Huh.
And he was just trying to get money because he's a greedy guy.
He's a greedy guy. Yeah. Greedy plumber. Is he a plumber?
I don't think he's a plumber.
Oh.
I think he's just a guy that looks like Mario that wants money.
With like a slightly messed up mustache, right?
Yeah, like a villainy mustache.
Gotcha.
And then shit like Waluigi happened.
Yes, I was wondering about Waluigi because I think he was another one that you could play.
But it's like his hat has like an upside, because like Wario is
it's just an
M upside down.
Yeah.
But then Waluigi doesn't make sense because it's an L upside down,
which is like a 7 or a...
Yeah, I think it's a 7.
Yeah, it's like a 7.
Yeah, and that doesn't make any fucking sense. So Nintendo, it's funny, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're gonna have a Wario, you need Waluigi. Why isn't it just YEG instead?
Because it's not Waluigi, it's Waluigi.
Waluigi, but it's not Mario, is what I'm saying.
I know, but it's just it sounds better than...
There's a case to be made here for consistency, is what I'm saying.
But it just sounds better as Waluigi than any of the other things that we've said. I think that's probably why Nintendo went with it.
Yeah, you would think they are smart folks over there.
Yeah.
Well, not so smart that they refuse to put out video games for any other platform. Like even if it were abundantly clear that, say, the iPhone and the Android phones were going to completely obliterate the entire video game business, I think Nintendo would still be like, nope, to play a Nintendo game, you got to buy a Nintendo.
Well, see, but the thing is, that's what's selling the current console is the fact that
you got it.
You can get Mario Kart 8. You can get.
Right.
I'm doing another fucking ad for Nintendo. But fucking, they're never
Nintendo is not.
They're never going to advertise us with us. So they're like Mario Kart 8, Hyrule Warriors, Super Smash Brothers. All this shit just came out. You cannot play it on it's not like
you're not going to get an iPhone version of any of these things. You're not going to get a PS3 or PS4 version.
Yeah, it's not like Call of Duty or what's another one of the fucking Grand Theft Auto, which is not on, but it's on Xbox and it's on PlayStation,
but it's not on Wii U.
Yeah.
So,
but their exclusives are really. I mean, not that Grand Theft Auto. I mean, Grand Theft Auto was an amazing game, and I played it, and it was awesome.
Right.
But the way, I mean, Nintendo games are just different.
Yeah.
They're usually more fun to play with people.
Yeah, and I'm teasing. There's a great talk that I listened to.
Was it a TED talk?
This was not a TED talk. This was at the XOXO festival. Although I have listened to a lot of TED talks.
Hugs and kisses?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. It seemed like a fairly
Is that the thing
that's
the thing that on the internet that I don't know about? What's XOXO?
I don't know that much about it. It just happens that that's where this talk was from. It is a festival. It's held in Portland, Oregon. I think. I was gonna say Seattle, but I actually think it's Portland.
Well,
Oregon.
they're both.
They're up there.
Yeah.
And it was a talk by this guy John Gruber, who runs a website that I like called Daring Fireball, and he does this whole talk, and at the end of the talk, he realizes, and forgive me if I've already mentioned this on the podcast.
Okay, well, we like last week we talked about a whole bunch of shit that we talked about before, so whatever.
He says he basically realizes at the end of his talk he's been paraphrasing, in his words, the great poet, philosopher, king Kenny Rogers, who once said, "You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run." So
sing the rest of the song. I'm curious. I've never heard this before.
But Nintendo, I tease Nintendo, say, not having an iPhone version of Mario or whatever. But that's them knowing when to hold it. Like, you know what? We're Nintendo. If you want to play Nintendo stuff, you got to come to our yard.
Here's the rub, buddy. I think Nintendo just patented some sort of Game Boy emulator for.
Oh, really? For
wireless or for mobile devices.
Well, yeah.
So everything you just said is bullshit because they're thinking about doing it.
Well, they've obviously got to think about it when you're up against PlayStation and Xbox, and you're up against an environment where people seem to enjoy the more shoot 'em up or graphic. Non-censored stuff that you could get in a big world like Grand Theft Auto.
But the thing is, that's never been Nintendo's MO. That's
right.
like. Even,
but I know it's not their, but it's everyone else's MO. So how do you compete with that? I think you go to mobile, where people have. Like my favorite games on my phone right now are this game called Threes, which is a ridiculous puzzle game. Which will steal your life away if you play too much Threes. And then this game called Monument Valley, Monument Valley feels like that would, if it weren't for the mechanics of it, which seem more tailor-made for a phone, would be an awesome Nintendo game. There's you kind of have some antagonists, but you're not trying to kill them. You're just trying to get around them. Stuff like that. It's not a violent game, but it's an awesome game. So Nintendo would fit in perfectly in kind of the casual.
Well, the thing is, like, the interface for the phone, like the touchscreen interface isn't. Yeah, it's not ideal. I mean, they have like the DS or whatever is, or the 3DS now. Has the touchscreen, but it has the interface where you can, have like a regular controller to control the things, but then touch the screen when you need to.
Yeah.
But then, like, I have a couple of games on here. I have Shining Force. It was a game for Sega Genesis way back in the day. I mean, that game plays fine on a phone,
right?
Because it's a turn-based strategy game.
Yeah.
So, like, moving your characters around or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, you're hitting A and you know where the A button is or whatever on the display. Yeah. And that's fine. But if it was an action game, I don't know if the interface would be working quite as well.
Right. See, I'm for, with Apple and the Google Android makers moving towards these bigger phones, I would be all for games that kind of adopted putting a version of the controller on the sides of the screens. I mean, my friggin' iPhone 6 screen is so big. Like,
well, you have the regular one. I mean, Dan has the Plus.
Yeah, I go to the 6 Plus. It's even, you got any more real estate. Like, you can cut off part of my screen and give me actual representations of the physical controller, and I'd still have plenty of space to play Mario or whatever. There have been a couple of kind of quasi-action games I've played on there, but most of them are things like, there's this great game called Cannibalt, which I played for a really long time. And Cannibalt is a side-scroller, but the only control you really need for Cannibalt is to tap on the screen to jump. And it's a fun, challenging game, because the more jumps you make and the more obstacles you avoid, the faster you start to run, which means it gets harder to anticipate.
The Temple Run game.
Yes, but this was... I don't know. I never played Temple Run.
I played it a lot, like a couple of years ago, and yeah. Here comes another one.
Anyway, probably got us horribly off topic.
Whatever.
There.
Well, when were we on topic? We never fucking established a topic. That's why I mean, it's a funny name for a show, but we
never really established a topic. So how can we get horribly off?
Yeah. I mean, whatever. Like, we're exposing ourselves as frauds, like on our 19th episode.
Yeah. I'm glad you remember the numbers. I never remember the damn numbers.
So, another thing, like even games like Angry Birds, which is perfect for a mobile game.
Yeah.
Like that fucking white bird. I gotta understand why people hate whites that aren't white. Because that fucking bird never drops that egg when I want it to.
Nope. Never.
Fucking cunt.
I haven't played Angry Birds in a while. That is one of the ones that is Apple, at least. I don't know if Google's doing the same thing, because I don't rock Android. Apple's been doing this thing for Product Red, where you can buy new versions of the of certain games like Angry Birds, like Cut the Rope. Where you can buy a version where all the proceeds go to AIDS research, which is a good cause. And they had a version.
All right, was it?
They had a version of Angry Birds on there, and I meant to try and pick it up because it's actually been ages since I played it. Last Angry Birds I played was the first Angry Birds Star Wars.
Actually, the fucking Angry Birds thing is just you get to buy because it's just a regular Angry Bird.
Yeah, and is it just like an extra bird or something?
No, you get it's like a downloadable content.
Okay. Well, that's what it's been for most of them. Like Monument Valley had a Product Red extra level, and I downloaded that. And GarageBand, the Apple app for the phone. I use the Mac version of it to edit this podcast. The phone and iPad version you could buy for 99 cents.
An AIDS version?
Yes.
No T cells on that fucking GarageBand.
No, you could buy a whole bunch of extra loops and stuff to make new music with GarageBand, and that 99 cents would go towards AIDS research. But anyway, I kept seeing Angry Birds there, and I kept meaning to try it. I don't know if that's the same version of Angry Birds that I already own from way back when.
It probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
this is the one it just updated and
it just updated. Okay, yeah.
It just has the fucking red thing on there.
Yeah.
Interesting caveat, and I didn't mention this before we were talking when we were talking about stuff. I recently had a doctor's appointment. I went for a follow-up physical, whatever, and he did some blood work, and he just basically suggested that people that are between the ages of 18 and whatever should have an HIV test.
Okay.
And so he suggested, and I'm like, well, I haven't been doing any sort of crazy risky behavior, but why not?
Right. Why not?
It's peace of mind. I don't have AIDS.
Yeah.
So I got my results back. I am HIV negative.
Very nice.
Woo!
Yay! Steve's
I do not have HIV or AIDS.
HIV. What's funny, especially given what I talked about last episode, where I admitted that I've only had 2 sexual partners in my life, I still worried for a really long time that somehow I would have something like that. And I think at
Did you just try to give him blood and then because they tested automatically? And
I think I'm trying to remember when I would have. I don't know if I've ever actually been tested, but I want to say maybe when we were.
I doubt you do, because I imagine when you're having children.
I think when we were, because we had to go through in vitro fertilization for the kids. I think at that point they might have tested me, and I found out I was negative. But but for whatever reason, I was worried about that, and I also have to say. You ever Googled an ex? Googled them. Like actually Googled. I'm not making a euphemism here. Have you ever Googled an ex-girlfriend?
Looked up on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. So the girl that I mentioned last time, who I gave my virginity to.
Just like a nice present.
A nice present, and she broke up with me 2 days later. Not that I'm bitter about that. That's
yeah, you don't seem to bring it up often.
No. Well, so years later, I Googled her and discovered that she had a child. And I think I don't know what relationship.
Was it partially white?
I don't know.
Did you finish inside of her?
I finished inside of her in a condom.
Okay, well then, yeah, that's good.
And this is why it makes absolutely no sense, right? Because we had sex the one time in February of 2007.
February.
That's February.
I don't know. Whatever.
So we had sex the one time in that month, the second month of the year.
Yeah.
Of 2007.
The shortest month.
The shortest month, yes. And
I had a bit in my act about February. How about I got plundered by July and August?
That. You want to give me the whole bit instead of me finishing my dumb story?
No, I'm not going to do the whole bit.
You got to pay for that.
It ends with. I'll give the punchline. I said.
What was the punchline?
I forgot what the goddamn punchline was.
Well, you want me to finish the story?
No. I can think of the goddamn punchline. It was. What the fuck? I forgot. Oh yeah, it was Big Clock. And I repeat it to the audience.
Big clock.
I said big clock.
Yes, I said big clock, not big
cock.
Yeah.
But I don't say big cock.
You just leave that part out.
Although, unless the audience is
and if you leave that part out, then you tend to not get AIDS or make someone pregnant if you leave the big cock out.
Of what?
Of the vagina.
Is that where AIDS comes from? Big cock?
Well, it comes from either the big cock or the vagina, I think.
The big vagina?
Possibly. Why? What? You have something against little vaginas?
Well, I imagine little vagina. I imagine little vaginas or tighter vaginas would be more if someone had HIV or AIDS. Mm-hmm. The possibility of passing it on to a partner would be greater if it was tighter or smaller.
Okay.
Because so it's not if you have sex.
Right. In terms of you saying if this is a relatively unused vagina.
Well, I mean, not that. No, I'm saying if you have HIV or AIDS and things are gripping a little tighter,
right,
around something,
yes,
there's more possibilities of tears and
right,
yeah,
okay.
So if it's gaping, then you're just fucking sliding in and out, and you're like, oh, I'm done. Oh, I don't have AIDS.
And it's like a lipstick inside the Luray Caverns.
Or that me walking down that hallway in Seattle that was a vagina hallway.
Yes. So there's no reason that I should have been worried about the fact that I could have been the father of this child, because we had sex in the shortest month of the year, and then that September, when if I had gotten her pregnant, she would have been very pregnant. I saw her and she was not pregnant.
I don't know. She might have been not. She might have had a tiny, tiny, tiny baby.
Possibly, I guess. And we didn't have sex when we saw each other that September.
Okay, good.
We did do some other things. So this was the part where I got really. I was like, did she save the save?
I don't think it keeps for that long unless you like put it in like cryogenic freeze.
Well, maybe she had a turkey baster like by the side of the bed, and she finished with whatever I had provided, and she put it in the turkey baster, and then later she impregnated herself. Like this was.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yes.
Okay.
But
just so we have it established.
This is what I was worried about. Like when I'd sit there, because when you're a paranoid person, when you're an anxious person, and
are you sure you don't want a beer?
And you have as much on your mind as I do, you will find a crazy way in which you're like, well, she had a kid, and she had a kid not that long after she and I were together, or at least that was what my brain decided. Is it possible that I have a
love child?
A love child out there. And of course, shortly thereafter, I discovered that I'm essentially infertile. So, like, I probably have, the only way that I've fathered children is by surgical procedures.
Hooray! Thank you, technology.
That's a story, but I'm not getting into it.
Good.
But someday someone will.
You got your Pats shirt on. Are you ready for the game?
I know, but it's not till 8:30, and I'll be asleep by
8:30.
By 8:30.
Okay, Nana.
Yeah.
All right. What else was on the list?
How did we even get there? Video games, AIDS.
We talked about AIDS, and and I don't have AIDS, and apparently you don't either.
Yeah, we don't have AIDS, which is because we were talking about Product Red and video games.
Yeah, that's how AIDS came up.
Oh, well, quasi-related to that.
Okay.
I was listening to the Accidental Tech podcast on the way here, or half of it, and one of the hosts, Marco Arment, went on a...
Marco
Arment.
Arment?
Arment.
Armament?
Armament? No, just Arment.
Oh, okay.
I've
never heard that. I've never heard that name before.
I have never heard it either.
Okay,
before I knew Marco.
Marco Arment.
I don't actually know Marco. Before I'd heard of
There's Marco. A Marco in One Piece.
Always bring it back.
I need to, because Brian likes it when I bring up One Piece, so... I mean, he's our most...
That's part of our drinking game, right? Is every time Steve brings up One Piece, you have to take a shot.
Okay, good. So this character, Marco in One Piece, he ate the mythic zone devil fruit, which is he's the Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's part of White.
I'm gonna know so much about One Piece by the end of recording these shows that I don't need to watch it.
You do. There's a fucking there's close to 700 episodes and close to 800 chapters.
Get started.
Yeah.
How can you catch up on something that's 800 episodes?
I did. Well, the thing is,
I gotta say, people keep telling me about this Beyond the Garden Wall show. Like, my students are all about this Beyond the Garden Wall show.
Is it an anime or?
It was on Cartoon Network. And I think it's like a 10-minute long thing, and it only ran for 6, 7, 10 episodes.
So you don't want to bother with that. But that's only 10 episodes.
But it's like, apparently it's a whole complete story in 10 episodes, and they all keep telling me about it. But that's too much of a commitment for me. So, like, 800 episodes.
Have you watched the Strong Bad emails that I gave you?
No, it's still sitting on my shelf.
Fucking hell. Those are like 2 minutes apiece.
I don't have any time.
Yeah.
I'm grading. Oh my god, I broke down today on the phone with my mom crying because apparently I just can't handle life right now.
Well, that's good.
There's too much going on.
Well, I'm sorry that coming to see me to do the podcast.
No, I like this. This
Right.
is the fun part of my weekend. I actually crave schedule. I think that's part of the reason that and routine. Part of the reason I'm so stressed out is because my semester is ending and I'm about to have a month of kind of unstructured time where I have a ton of shit I want to get done.
We could get a couple in the can then. We could do more than one.
Yeah.
And be like, this is... Hey, we're talking about we'll be like, hey, everything's great and fun, and there'll be like a giant bombing somewhere. Hey, we didn't do this a week ago.
Anyway, Marco from the Accidental Tech podcast.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Marco from One Piece.
No, I haven't seen One Piece.
He's part of the Whitebeard crew. All right. Okay.
Marco went nuts this week about the fact that Apple notified him of a couple of those Product Red special thing. I don't know what he has installed on his phone, so I couldn't tell you what.
It's probably some AIDS thing.
But
does his phone have AIDS?
His phone might. I don't know if it's been tested. But at any rate, like, so he kind of went off on a tangent because apparently Apple says you are not allowed to use push notifications to send ads, marketing, anything like that. Everyone in the App Store breaks this rule apparently, because how else do you get people to come into your free game to buy new bombs that are available for a limited time?
To bomb the world.
But Marco goes crazy about this, and I'm sitting there listening, and I'm like, but aren't there special circumstances like this? All of these things that Apple is notifying people about are to raise money for what I think is a pretty important cause. Product Red, like aren't they allowed to break the rule to sort of advertise in that case? Because it's not really, it is advertising, to some. It's a matter of perspective, I guess. But aren't there cases where you break the rules? I don't know.
See, I think what it comes back to is that no matter what, there's going to be people on the internet or in real life that are going to be upset about something.
Yeah. Well, that is what the internet is for.
Is to
watching pornography and bitching about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or bitching about pornography.
Yeah. It's been too long since I've seen good... No, that's not true. Because it's not true because I don't watch pornography. I'm a good boy.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's not that it's not true because...
concerned that your daughters are going to be listening to this? Like, me and my pals listen to my dad's podcast.
Someday.
Maybe. Yeah, but then...
I've actually heard podcast people make this really... And I don't know how I feel about this claim. That, won't it be interesting that during my child's younger years, I was doing all of this recording of my voice, and then when my kid wants to really get to know what I was like as a younger dude,
you're gonna listen to how many times you talk about strip clubs in the first 20 episodes of your goddamn podcast, and you realize that it's an obscene amount.
and so they make this claim, and I'm like, yeah, I guess it makes sense. It's good that I'm blogging and that I'm recording all of this stuff, but there's probably too much stuff. Does my kid want to know all of this stuff that I'm not podcasting for the sake of my child or my grandchild, 100 or my great grandchild hundreds of years from now to be able to go, oh, that's what that asshole was like. No, I'm doing it because I want
fun.
Listeners to enjoy themselves and have fun.
I think it's probably my fault because I bring up
you bring up the strip club.
No, I don't bring up the strip clubs.
I bring up the strip clubs.
No, I think we equally bring up strip clubs.
Okay,
but I think when you share too much, when you personally share too much,
yes.
or share things that you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't share.
Maybe I shouldn't share.
I think like we talked about it before. I'm initially abrasive, and people have trouble getting into me at a first glance or whatever.
Sure.
Sometimes there's of course exceptions, and but once people do, I think people find it very easy to talk to me.
Right.
And so,
yeah,
because we are sitting across from each other and we're not doing over Skype, I think you find it more easy to say things that that are on your chest, or things that you want to spill your guts or whatever. Yeah. I should have been a therapist.
Side tangent. There's been a lot of talk in the circles I follow over the last couple of weeks about podcasting within the podcast that I listen to, which is really fucking.
This is way too meta for fucking.
I'm not going to go on about it. All I'm going to say is I like our setup. I like that. And it's not that I don't like recording podcasts via Skype. That was how.
But sometimes you can't do it because you're far away.
But that's how that's how John Martin and I did Generation Goat for years.
You mean that shitty podcast? I want him to start listening and get mad at me. I don't actually think it's shitty, John. I'm just fucking around.
But at any rate, all of their advice, all of their whatever is about podcast technology and.
Are you Canadian now?
People have asked me that. Hold that thought for a second. Is all based around the fact that all podcasts are recorded via Skype, which they aren't. Our podcast is recorded live and in person.
Yeah, I know. And we annoy my next door neighbors from yelling in my apartment.
And burping.
Yeah. I'm drinking beers, whatever. I'm having a good time.
So we never got round to the answer to my question, which was, aren't there some circumstances in which you break the rules for special...
I don't know. Sure. I guess there can't be everything. Everything can't be black and white.
Yeah.
there has to be shades of gray.
I agree.
Or 50 of them. I don't know.
50 Shades of Grey, that wouldn't be bad.
See, here's
51. That's too much.
Here's the thing. I've heard, and there's a lot of there's a lot of people that are into that book.
There are a lot.
I have not read it.
I have not read it. My wife's boss let her borrow female boss.
Okay, I was gonna say.
They work at a childcare center. They don't have any male employees.
Well, yeah, that's weird. Why aren't there any males at a daycare center? Because the moment someone applies, they're like, that guy's a kid toucher.
Yeah, apparently. That book was sort of going around. So the closest I've gotten to 50 Shades of Grey was when Steph borrowed it from
Did she read it?
She read some of it. I don't think she ever finished it.
Okay, so like I guess the way like its inception was Twilight fan fiction. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's gross.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. It's just like from what I understand, the plot is there's this spoiled man-child brat.
I get that idea. Yeah.
That
is into S&M.
That's into S&M and takes advantage of women.
Yeah.
And women are going bonkers over this.
And one woman in particular, right? Like, because I've seen the trailer for the film.
We should go to see it, and we should do it like a totally.
We should do a review.
We should do a Red Letter Media review.
I am not opposed to that idea.
We can jerk each other off in the theater. It'll be fun.
That idea, I'm really not opposed to.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure how I feel about 50 Shades of Grey. I'm interested in. I'm interested in the film. Not enough to read the book, but I'm interested in this idea that the film can't possibly live up to the book because the book is too dirty. I've seen that.
I don't think the book is too dirty. I really don't. I don't know. I don't necessarily consider myself very dirty in bed or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm aware of really dirty things, and I don't think those really dirty things exist in that book.
I don't know. It does startle me that it started off as Twilight fan fiction. Like the idea that so many things start off as fan fiction now is interesting to me as a writer because it's both cool and uncool. There was a book.
It should still always be. I'm sorry for anybody out there that listens to this podcast that writes fan fiction. I'm sorry, it's not cool. Well, there's nothing cool about it except for apparently 50 Shades of Grey. Every fucking lady in America wants to moisten her fucking vagina hole with it.
Maybe cool is not the right word, but there used to be a the way that people learned to write ages and ages and ages ago was by copying the masters. That's also the way people learned to paint. That's the way people learned to sculpt. And then somewhere along the line, originality became so important that you could never learn anything.
But there's nothing that you can't be original
but you write people who are adults who write fan fiction, that kind of weirds me out and bothers me. But a kid, a tween or teenager who decides, you know what, I'm kind of interested in writing stories, and I would rather them come up with their own characters, right? But if the way that they get introduced to writing is they're like, well, I really liked Edward and Bella, and I can't believe I actually know the names of fucking characters from Twilight.
It's fine.
I really like these characters. I'm gonna write a little bit about them. If you're tween and that's how you get into.
But you don't teach
stories,
tweens. You teach.
I don't. But some of these kids that are coming up, I get the sense that was how they started. And
but now they're writing about more now relevant things to their lives because they have had more life.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, well that's good, I guess.
Yeah. So
it's not. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's still not cool, but it could be a stepping stone into writing something better.
Yeah, but there's not anything cool about writing anyway. Like it's uncool, but that's the point.
Oh come on, there's Kerouac. I mean. That's the epitome of cool.
The epitome of cool, but is Kerouac any good?
You're the literary scholar.
I'm just going to leave that there for somebody to email us.
He's from our area.
He is from our area. A couple of friends came up to the baby shower for Kaylee back in early 2006. and they went to the MFA to the grad school with me. And they were into Kerouac, and they said, "Chris, we're done with the baby shower now. Like, since we're in the Lowell area, can you tell us where Kerouac's grave is?" And I was like,
"In a cemetery?"
Yeah, and they were really bummed out that I had no idea.
Well, then,
because Kerouac, is from our area, he is a local hero. But I haven't tried many times.
So you don't like his writing, so therefore, because he does shitty writing, he's therefore cool.
Is very often what makes something cool, is that it's shitty and approachable as opposed to being quality.
All right. Quality with a capital KW.
No, that sounds elitist and snobby, which
it did a little bit.
I'm only partially elitist and snobby. No, I think Kerouac has his merits. I'm sure. I haven't read enough of Kerouac to really say one way or the other. But what I was trying to say in terms of uncool is I think of this quote from Almost Famous, where you have Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Lester Bangs, and you've got...
Can I kiss you on the mouth? Oh wait, no, that was fucking Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights. Oh God, I love Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm so sad that he's dead.
I just watched last Sunday, I went to see the...
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games,
right?
yeah. Was that like the last one he did?
I think. See, I haven't seen it. My wife didn't want to spoil it for me. She and Kaylee went because.
No, I mean like the last film he did.
No, it wasn't the last film he did. I think he. Well, you know what? It was. He died, or he died during the making of that. And part of the thing was they were going to have to. There was still at least one climactic scene.
Did they have to cut him out?
I don't know. And my question there is, I don't know. I know they cut that movie in half. So there's Mockingjay Part 1 and Mockingjay
Did they already
2.
film like both parts?
That's what they were in the middle of filming both parts.
Okay. So there's like the parts
that
died. Okay.
And so it's unsure. They were filming them back to back in the way that like Jackson's done Lord of the Rings and all that.
And who was it? Bob Zemeckis did
the Back to the Future,
2 and 3.
So I don't know how much of it he finished. Anyway, I love Philip Seymour Hoffman, but cool, uncool. He has a great line where Philip Seymour Hoffman's character Lester Bangs. Lots of people today would think of posthumously as one of the coolest rock and roll writers of all time, but he viewed himself as uncool, and he's trying to counsel. Have you seen Almost Famous?
It's been a long time.
Well, he's trying to counsel the kid, our protagonist in the film, William Miller, and he's saying like,
you say protagonist as if there's an antagonist.
I'm sure if I thought hard enough about it, I could tell you who the antagonist is.
Was it the Rug? Wait, that's the bioscope again. Which Philip Seymour Hoffman is in.
It's him. Anyway, so he's trying to talk to him about how I think the quote is, the only true currency in this world is what two people share when they're in the act of being uncool. Like writing and art and whatever. So
basically, we're doing it every week.
Yeah, we're uncool, and we're like I never wanted to be cool. I'm not interested in being.
I'm sure that there's people out there that over time have thought I was cool, but but then had like the veil removed. Well, you've known me since I was a little kid, so you've been like, hey, who's this fucking nerd?
Yeah, well, and in that case, when you've known somebody for as long as you did, like cool, uncool, completely lose their meaning because it's just like he's Steve. I can't view you from an outside lens because I've known you since you were 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah,
right?
and you were like 7 or 8 or something like
so
that.
it's Steve. At some point, somebody might have viewed him as cool, or somebody might have viewed him as uncool. He's always just been Steve.
Yeah. Believe it or not, it's just Steve.
I love that song.
That's a good song.
What was I going to say? Who do you think? I mean,
where are you going? I'm the one that's been drinking.
You're the one that's been drinking. I know. Between the two of us, who's the cool one?
Do you really need to ask this question?
Okay, you're the cool one.
Okay.
But here's the thing that I've been thinking about, which is, well, actually, let me read an email.
Okay.
I read an email. This will bring me into it. We got an email from from Leo.
Yes.
I think we're allowed to say Leo's
Yes,
name.
well, this is Leo. He's a pal of mine from college.
Yes.
Who also knows Brian. So
there you go.
Which is apparently the
Brian.
Everybody that I went to
Brian
college
is the epicenter. Is that what's happening?
No, he's not the epicenter, but it's just like apparently the only people that consistently listen to this podcast are people I went to college with.
All right. Well, but that'll actually bring me to my question, I guess. But anyway, so Leo writes, hey guys, so I had slacked off on listening for the past 3 weeks. The plus side is I now have 3 hours of show to catch up on. This works well as I am now on my way to a 20-hour plane ride to Kathmandu.
Kathmandu. What is that? Credence?
Yeah, I think. I don't know.
Continue.
Hopefully you guys will make an insufferable 20-hour trip seem more like
I don't know. Is he going to be able to
insufferable 17-hour or so trip?
Is he going to be able to access this when he gets to Kathmandu?
If he downloaded it onto his phone or whatever.
Well, he did. I don't know. Like
I don't know how he listens.
I think he listens through the website.
Oh, through the website.
Well, I don't know. Like because he's back in the States now.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's not because he's apparently flying to another place. Like maybe as we speak. But so I imagine he downloaded them off of maybe iTunes.
Yeah, off of iTunes or however he gets them. How do you listen to our podcast, listeners? Let us know at hot@clarkwoods.com.
Yeah, and if you listen on iTunes, give us some 5-star ratings on
yes.
On there,
on
so people
iTunes.
that are
because
not
even,
you guys.
Well, the thing is that even if you don't subscribe via iTunes, the best way to get a podcast some publicity is to give more 5-star reviews because almost all of the other engines that all the other apps or whatever that try to grab podcasts look at the reviews or look at iTunes as a sort of starting point. So
we have one comment now on there.
Do we? I
don't know who did it, but it's probably a friend of ours.
Yeah.
When they referenced to RoboCop and said, "I'd buy that for $1," and then a little subheading saying, "I would."
we gotta get on having our own Patreon. That's on my to-do list for December.
Make a Patreon.
Patreon for the podcast. Because there are people who I think would chip in $1 a month or something, or
public radio now?
Yes, we're not public radio, but you know what? We get together, we talk for a couple hours a week. I edit the darn thing. Like if somebody would give us $1, there's nothing wrong with saying putting out a tip jar and asking. You know what? If you like it, if you like it, it's free. It's always free. But here's a tip jar. If you want to throw $1 in, throw $1 in.
All right.
And then maybe it buys us.
That was more of a dig to public radio and less of a we shouldn't do that.
Okay. So Leo writes, once I get there, Kathmandu, I will try.
Sorry.
I will try to do some campaigning for your show.
Oh, good.
Hopefully, this will be the first time you are promoted in a developing world nation.
Where the fuck is Kathmandu?
I am not counting my time in Canada, as they are further along than you might think.
Yes.
So Canada, not a developing nation.
No, they are very much like us here in the States.
See you when I get back, Leo. All right.
I hope the fuck so, because I was hoping to see him while he was back from Canada.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to Kathmandu. It's fine." I'm gonna look up where the fuck it is.
So, I'll ask sort of a because I think we've already identified it. You're the cool one. So if people come to the show, I want to sort of argue that people come to the show for the Steve. That's what I'm going to argue. I think people at best tolerate when I'm speaking.
Oh, come on, stop it. You do say funny things.
Occasionally.
We have a good rapport.
But I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like, which show is... I listened to a show called... what the hell is it called? I gotta look it up. Amplified. Amplified, which is a show by this guy, Jim Dalrymple, who runs a site called...
That's another name.
Yeah, it is another name.
Like, what the fuck kind of name is like Dalrymple?
Dalrymple.
That's like Rumpelstiltskin kind of name.
Kathmandu. Jim has been the constant on that show, and he's had a couple of quote-unquote second bananas, including one who has identified himself as the second banana. I'm comfortable being the second banana in our show.
Although you do run it. Like you're also the producer.
Well, yes, but the most important part, I think, my role, I feel like, in a lot of the stuff that I do here on Geek Force 5 is to be the facilitator, right? I think people like me as a facilitator sometimes more than they like my own stuff. So, I would be willing to wager that if I do set up a Patreon for the podcast, that it would pretty quickly bring in more money than my own Patreon. And that's not a woe is me thing. That's just I think people view me, because I'm a professor, because I have that kind of personality where I like to sort of get other people's stuff out into the world. They view me more as like, well, Chris is the guy who tells me about cool stuff as opposed to producing cool stuff.
You do produce cool stuff. This is cool stuff.
But in a sense, what I'm doing when I produce this is introducing people to Steve. Now, a lot of people already know you. We've kind of identified that a lot of our listeners are probably people you went to
college or high school with.
But it's part introducing new people to somebody that I find funny, but it's also part reminding people that, hey, remember Steve? He was your funny pal in college. Like, come listen to him every week. I don't know. This is just. I've often heard it said that podcasts are.
Where the fuck is he going to fucking Kathmandu? I'm looking at the map now, and all right, so it's like above, like it's like a India little hat. It's a hat.
It's a hat on India.
Yeah, sort of like, and there's like India has like a cancerous tumor coming out the top of it.
Oh my God, that was the other thing that I wanted to talk about this week.
Cancerous tumors?
No, India and Civ 5 and strategy games.
We talked about that. We were talking about Gandhi before.
We did. We talked about Gandhi and why. We did talk about that.
Yeah, see? Okay, it's all right. So, like, anyway, Nepal is India's hat that doesn't cover. It's Kathmandu is in Nepal, which is India's hat. Which doesn't cover up the cancerous tumor up there. See, there's India.
Mm-hmm. I see it.
Let's route it. Let's see.
I don't think you can drive to India from here. I have tried that.
I'll try walking. Let's see.
There was a
choose a starting point.
At least at like Google, at some point, you could do walking/driving directions from some obscenely northerly place in Alaska to the southernmost place in South America.
Oh, there's no routes found, apparently, from where we are right now to Kathmandu. Well, fuck you, Google Maps.
Fuck you, Google.
You apparently have like a deep-seated hatred to Google.
I do. I mean, the default search engine on iPhones is Google. I changed mine to DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGoose.
DuckDuckGo doesn't save any information on you. Provides just as good results.
Is that what that thing is? With the
what?
Oral sex thing?
No, that's Tweetbot.
Oh.
All right, I will try to put a link in the show notes, which are at clarkwoods.com/hot/19. Is that what episode it is?
Yes.
If you guys don't know what the Tweetbot app icon looks like, Steve has now made it impossible for me to ever look at this icon again without thinking that it's a little bluebird trying to give me a blowjob.
Oh, that's cute.
Civ 5, we did talk about Gandhi.
Yes.
But I wanted to bring up, and I have this other app on my phone called Time Hop, which lets me know, in prior years what I've been posting on social media on this day. And it is almost without fail, since I got Civ 5 a few Thanksgivings ago, it is on this date or right around this date that I start playing Civ 5 for pretty much like a week straight, because I'm so stressed out from the semester that it's one of those mind-numbing games that you can sit there for hours and hours and hours and wonder why you've sat there for hours and hours and hours. I love Civ 5, but this week I was playing. I'm playing Poland. I have Civ 5 both expansion packs, and you can play Poland in the new version. And Poland is great.
So what do you got, like a submarine with a screen door?
I haven't gotten that one yet. I haven't researched that technology.
Helicopter with an ejector seat.
So I'm trying to play Poland, going for a cultural.
Hey, I heard that Warsaw Airlines Flight 102 crashed into a graveyard, and they found 5,000 bodies.
I'm trying. I'm playing. that I have a Polish ancestry. Oh,
And so is Paul's wife.
Well, actually, there's debate now in my family about whether we're from Poland or Lithuania or anyway, we're from some.
Those
Eastern
are some of my it's just like everybody
Polish
has that
humor is fucking hilarious. Like,
and it's pretty benign, and it's usually just like, hey, these people are dumb, and it's just like the same humor is used on blondes or what are the other dumb
Polish
quote
Polacks, blondes, and Chelmsford High students.
Oh, jeez, just like us.
I'm trying to play Poland and go for cultural victory.
Think of another one.
What was it?
No, I'm trying to.
All right. Poland, cultural victory, and I'm playing on a map where to the jokers to the left of me, what the hell is that?
Clowns
to the left of me, jokers to the right. To the left of me on the map is are the Greeks.
Oh, just a bunch of ass. Well, let's do stereotypes. Bunch of ass fucking.
Of ass fucking. Yeah.
Let's do it.
And to the right of me, I'm trying to remember because I stopped playing this game. This game because I was going to lose. To the right of me were shit.
There was shit. Gross.
But essentially, I'm playing Poland in Brave New World, the most recent version of Civ 5. You adopt an ideology, and there are three of them: freedom, order, and autocracy. And obviously, autocracy being closely related to the Nazi Party.
So that's the one you chose.
I chose freedom.
You wanted to take over Poland.
No, because I'm Poland, and I chose freedom. The Greeks to the left of me chose autocracy. So I now have Nazi Greeks trying to attack me from one side, and on the other side,
did the Greeks hate Jews? Those particular ones?
I don't know. In this game, they might have, but anyway, I have an autocratic. Is that the proper version of the word? I have an autocracy on one side of me, and order. So I basically have Germany on one side of me, and I have Russia on the other side of me. And I'm playing Poland. And I lost that game. I haven't officially lost it, but they had such massive armies on both sides. I was like, I'm about to get invaded.
You had real life happen.
I had real life happen in Civ 5. And it's happening again. I restarted the game. I'm going to try to play.
You just, I don't know.
I'm playing Poland again. And on one side of me, I've got autocracy. And on the other side of me, I've got order. And I'm just like, the people who programmed this fucking game... Like
they hate Poland. They wanted
Poland.
to get, but no, I don't think they hate it. They just think like this is a place that the Russians and the Germans are going to try to just
and they have for ages and ages and ages, which is why there are lots of times in history where there isn't a Poland. There are Polish people who identify as Polish, but there isn't an actual nation. And it's frustrating.
Where did the dumb people come from? I don't
know.
Where did that stereotype start? Because I've never actually met a Polish person which I thought was dumb.
Yeah, I have not either.
And so it doesn't make sense to me.
Have you ever met a blonde that you thought was dumb?
Yes, but there's significantly more blondes in this world than there are Polish people.
There are, yeah.
So there's a better chance.
Exterminated a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, I know, right? Fucking nonsense. But yeah, so there's a better chance to find a dumb blonde than a better chance to find a dumb Polish person. So
I don't. Is that right mathematically?
Yes.
Because if there's a smaller sample group, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
I can't do math. I was an English major.
Yeah, listen, I know what I'm talking about. I'm obviously a genius with math.
You are. Yeah, so there is a better chance of finding a dumb. I don't know where does any stereotype come from?
No, but there are stereotypes that I understand, and I understand where they come from. Yeah. But that's one I don't.
Because
maybe it's just like a
stupid Polish people.
Yeah, there's apparently Scotsmen apparently are cheap. That's where we got Scotch tape.
Huh.
Because Scotch tape doesn't have a significant amount of adhesive on it. Huh. So it's cheap tape, and it's something that's marketed out there.
But it's also they have at least Scotch brand Scotch tape has Scottish green and almost like a kilt, like that kind of design on it.
That's where. So like.
But they're owning it, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, well, of course, one of the things that I teach in my English comp class is that
stereotypes.
Stereotypes are a hasty generalization about a group of people.
Yeah.
Right? So somebody meets one dumb Polish person and decides all Polish people are dumb.
All right.
That's how it starts. But like, who was that dumb Polish person? That's what I want to know.
The one guy.
The one
like,
dumb Polish guy.
Like that was like patient zero with the HIV crisis, bringing it back.
Bringing it back. You're good like that.
What is it? Like I mean, he isn't actually patient zero. Apparently, patient zero was like some guy
who got bitten by a monkey, right?
Or not necessarily bitten by a monkey, but he was probably like a hunter and he hunted monkeys.
Right. Yeah.
And because in Africa that is a source of meat, and like in Indiana Jones they're eating monkey brains, whatever. That probably wasn't a good idea.
Hippopotamus was apparently a possible meat source in the United States at one point.
Well, because they're big.
We came very close at some point in the country's history. There was a guy, and I heard this on This American Life ages ago. I had to look it up the other night because I was writing a new story about I want a hippopotamus for Christmas, and I'm reading the Wikipedia
because
article.
That kid was hungry. That's why.
And it turned out that hippopotamus meat is pretty good, and we could bring the hippopotamuses into, I think, Louisiana.
Hippopotami.
We could bring the
several
hippopotami into Louisiana, I think it was, where there was a huge problem with one particular kind of weed that
this guy
that the hippopotamus would eat, get fat, and then it would solve two problems. We'd get rid of this pervasive weed that was in Louisiana, and
we'd have lots of
hippo meat because there was a meat shortage in the country. But it ended up not passing, and we don't eat hippo today.
Well, I don't know. Now I kind of want to eat hippo. Maybe
apparently
there's hippos in fucking Kathmandu, and Leo will tell us how it fucking tastes.
Apparently the Zulu were one of those, at least according to Wikipedia, were one of those tribes that believed they wanted to be as brave or as strong or as whatever as a hippopotamus as opposed to a lion, because a hippopotamus is apparently one of the most aggressive and unpredictable animals in nature.
Well, if you got if you're like raising hippopotami,
mm-hmm.
and you have like a fucking samurai on grounds, and like
okay, I'm with you.
The fucking hippopotamus, if one of the hippopotamus is fucking around, like you get this fucking samurai be like, I'll fucking cut your head off, you shithead. Right?
I just try to, I'm picturing a samurai and a hippopotamus, and where other than Civ 5 do I see a group of samurai sort of come off of the ocean, do that cool little sound effect where they pop out of the ocean and onto the land, and then there's hippopotamus attack hippopotamus just there, and the
wearing
samurai
battle armor
clash with the hippopotamus.
Yeah, this is a video game, guys out there listening. Fucking give us credit, give us a little royalties action.
Well, you can do
samurais versus hippos.
You can do customizations of Civ 5. There was a Game of Thrones one that I played very very briefly.
Did you have dragons?
You could have dragons, and it didn't. One of the things I'm frustrated by with Civ 5 sometimes is it's hard to control where your character starts off with. It would make sense for certain civilizations, if you're playing on a map of the real world, to start where they would actually start. And so the Game of Thrones one, in addition to dragons just seeming like a silly mechanic for Civ, but imagine creating hippos, creating the little animation of somebody riding on a hippo.
War hippos.
So I want to see that now. War hippos.
We have a better idea. Fuck hippos for me. We got war hippos. We'll train these things. We'll get hippo whisperers. They'll be like, hey, you should just come in and fucking battle with us and shit, because you're fucking really strong. That was supposed to be
Have you
funny.
ever wanted a hippopotamus for Christmas?
No. I'm not hungry, and I don't need to fucking battle people, apparently. What else do I need a fucking hippo for?
Is there anything else we're going to talk about?
I don't know. What else is on the list? We're almost done here.
We are almost done. There's one thing on this we're not going to talk about, because that would take us off on a really long tangent and would be sad/angry. So I'm looking at the other things, and I think we're. Oh, we were going to talk about my brother's Tandy computer.
Oh yes, we should touch on that real quick. Because we were talking about you.
Yes, I saw an ad. I was at my parents' house yesterday, and I saw an ad for the Leapster, which is, if you're not familiar, is kind of it was the Leap Pad, and the Leap Pad is kind of Leapster, the company's attempt at creating a tablet for kids. But my kids play with actual tablets,
and they are the age that you would. I mean, at least your younger daughter, even more so, would be the target audience for this, and she already uses an iPad.
Yeah, and my kids are not going to listen to this between now and then. They are getting their own iPads for Christmas.
Holy shit, dude!
Not from us. My mom sprung for it. She got a really good deal on iPad Minis. So
now they're going to be totally addicted now.
Yeah. Well,
at least it's not to crack cocaine. Yes. At least your mom's not getting them that.
All right. So yeah, why would you get a Leap Pad when you could get somebody an iPad? That was one of the things, and I don't know that we have a really good answer for that. But in the context of us talking about that,
I brought up because like back in the day, I mean, your brother because Radio Shack was a thing.
Yes, Radio Shack was a thing
before, and they used to sell Tandy computers.
Yes.
Now, if you had watched Strong Bad Email, like I had asked you to,
all right.
He starts off with a Tandy-esque computer where he's answering his emails on because he has basically a bargain basement computer for the time, which was early 2000s, and then he upgraded to a 386 when his Tandy blew up. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched Strong Bad Emails, but it was just one of those. It was hey, we have this computer, and and there wasn't much to it. I remember
John's computer, the Tandy.
Yeah. And I don't remember there being really any games on it.
Did it run? It didn't run Windows.
It definitely didn't run Windows. No.
What did it run?
I ran the fucking Radio Shack,
a Radio Shack Tandy version of DOS or something. I don't even
know if it was DOS. Somebody if you know shit about this kind of shit, I'm going to say shit again. Shit. Give us an email. Tell us if you know where the fuck Tandy. Well, because obviously Radio Shack was trying to, monopolize. Well, not monopolize, but to get some cash off this new computer craze.
Yeah.
And they made this bullshit computer that had I think all I remember was there being a fancy calendar on there.
You could play some PC games on there because I remember going, or maybe you couldn't. Maybe they were Tandy specific games because there were things that mostly John bought because it was his computer.
We had a Commodore too.
We had a Commodore, yeah, but there were some things that somehow when John and I weren't fighting, I was able to play with his Tandy.
It sounds gross.
It does. I was able to use the Tandy. I think at least maybe there was a choose your own adventure. I feel like there was a choose your own adventure program. You could write a choose your own adventure book or something on there. Was one of the apps that you could one of the programs you could.
Really? What kind of year is this? So basically, in closing, I think we should just say, never play with your brother's Tandy.